this is not going to interrupt him. So we have Reverend James with us, and as much has developed in the last 8 or 9 days, we've really been called to stand tall in our own way, each one of ourselves, but also as an organization. We have one of those unity people who stands tall, and that is our James Gaither. We call you our James Gaither. So we have claimed you. But one thing I want to just say to you is your steadfastness is I hope you hear it as an absolute compliment and an honoring of who you are and how we have you in the midst of us today. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the kind words. Yes, I'm happy to be here again with you today. It's a little bit of a surprise, I guess, but this morning I want to close talk with a meditation rather than opening with a meditation. So I'm going to go right into my topic, which is divine harmony and justice. Given the choice between harmony and discord, rational people would freely choose harmony. Wouldn't you agree? Given a choice between living in a just society and an unjust one, rational people would freely choose justice. Wouldn't you agree? Today I'm making a case for two propositions. Proposition number one, harmony is a present state of consciousness. It manifests as health and happiness. Harmony is a present state of consciousness. The second point, second proposition, is that justice is a principle that operates throughout the universe at every level. Justice is a principle that operates throughout the universe at every level. It manifests as the consequences of our thoughts and actions, and it balances all conditions. Now, in addition to these two propositions, I have two corollaries, and I hope you don't mind me speaking in terms of propositions and corollaries. It's my background in philosophy that makes me think that way. First corollary is that we have the freedom to choose to attune our consciousness to harmony or not to attune to it. We have the freedom to attune our consciousness to harmony. When we are not attuned to harmony, we experience discord and suffering. When we are attuned to harmony, we experience happiness, peace, and all good. The second corollary is that we have the freedom to cooperate with justice or resist it. We have the freedom to cooperate with justice, the principle of justice, or resist it. But resistance is futile because justice is inevitable. Aligning with justice helps us establish harmony in experience, and attunement with harmony helps us establish justice. Harmony and justice are distinct yet closely interrelated divine ideas. So let's start with the divine idea of harmony. The best illustration of what harmony is, in my mind, is music. Music illustrates the nature of harmony. In fact, the word harmony comes from the mathematical music theory of Pythagoras some 2,500 years ago. The Greek word is harmonia. And harmonia in Greek basically means fitting together. Thinking about how things fit together in harmony. Now, in Pythagorean philosophy, harmony was understood as a principle present everywhere in the universe, not just in music, but everywhere in the universe. Music illustrates it. A general definition of harmony in music is that harmony consists of tones that can be heard simultaneously or consecutively and have a pleasing effect in consciousness. So tones that can be heard simultaneously, right? So like 4-part harmony, but also can be heard consecutively. In other words, in the melody of the tune itself. We hear them and they have a pleasing effect in consciousness. Now, just what the nature of that pleasing effect is known to us in our experience of music. So we may experience harmony in music, and we can also experience it in beautiful images, in well-told stories. We can experience harmony in our bodies, in our lives, and in the world. This experiencing of harmony is a kind of sensing that things fit together somehow, that things work together to produce the beauty and the good of the whole. So it's kind of about how things fit together and we experience them and we call it good or we call it beauty. When we feel the harmony, we are experiencing to some degree the presence of the divine, the presence of God, the good. Now, harmonies have mathematical characteristics, right? It comes from a mathematical musical theory, the word itself. Harmony in music is created by these mathematical relationships among the different tone intervals. For example, the primary harmonies in Western music are tone intervals that are called octave, the eighth. The octave is just the whole, so we call the scale. There's the fifth, and there's the fourth, right, and so on. So we have these terms that in music that are sort of mathematical. There's a very popular song by Leonard Cohen that I'm sure you've heard someone cover or someone or another cover, and it alludes to this harmonic relationship in music. And it also alludes to biblical stories. The song itself is about human love, human relationships, but he alludes to different biblical stories. So in one verse it says, "Now I've heard there is a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift. The baffled king composing Hallelujah."
Mm.
Fourth, the fifth is a reference to that harmonic relationship that is mathematical. I emphasize this because mathematics has this sort of quality of perfection and a quality of equality. So the perception of harmony is an experience of a pleasing agreement among different manifestations and how they fit together. And each individual manifestation contributes to the goodness and beauty of the whole picture, if you will. Harmony is a pleasing fitting together of different people, things, or ideas. So we have, for example, a team that in sports that plays effectively, it's because the pieces fit together. The different people play their roles, they play to their strength, and then they work together as a whole to be successful. Harmony in the cosmos consists of laws, patterns of forms, and motions, every part fitting together perfectly, harmoniously. We experience harmony as perceptions of beauty in nature, on earth, and in the heavens, as they say, in beautiful sunsets or in a field of flowers. We feel awe when we contemplate the stars and the vastness of the heavens at night. We experience harmony when we feel peace walking in a forest or sitting by a sea. Such feelings are the recognition of harmony in the cosmos, a kind of intuitive recognition that things fit together in a way that is pleasing. This consciousness of harmony is always available to us. It is the permanent state of the infinite mind that contains the cosmos. As Plato noted, this infinite mind is a mathematical mind. It contains an infinite number of mathematical true ideas. And this mathematics is not just a matter of quantity, it's also a matter of quality. So we see mathematics in the forms that we look at. We see it in their geometric nature, if you will. We recognize harmony in the way that equations in mathematics or physics balance each other. The pieces fit together. There's an interesting aspect of geometry that's called fractals that you might have heard of fractal geometry. And basically, while it seems pretty complicated, in a way it's kind of simple. It's the way patterns repeat themselves. And mathematicians can formulate this into an equation to be graphed on one of those graphs that creates pictures. You've seen graphs of all different kinds. And they plug this formula in, they play it out, and it creates this repetition of patterns. That the patterns, in a sense, are different, but at the same time, they're the same. They go from the small to the great and the great to the small and continues to repeat the patterns. And we see this in nature all the time. If you look at a tree, you'll see that the branches go out, the big branches go out, and then they have branches, and then those branches have branches, and so on. It's a repeating fractal pattern. Now, if you happen to like broccoli, you'll see fractals in that too. You take a head of broccoli and break it apart, what do you get? Smaller pieces that look like the bigger piece. And no matter how far you break it down, it shows these repeating patterns. And we have these patterns even in our bodies. Did you know that your body is fractal? You see, for example, you have the head and the neck, the arms and the legs, and that is like this branching off into 5 branches, right? 2 legs, 2 arms, head on the neck, right? But then if you look at the end of your arms, the end of your feet, you find the 5 number again in your hands. It's fractal. Even the part of the pattern is the threefold nature of your fingers, right? So we have this geometry in our own bodies. There is this kind of perfect harmony that is, one might say, almost by design, by a universal mathematical mind. That's part of what the harmony of our bodies are. It's this kind of mathematical construction at every level. At every level. Our DNA is spirals, and spirals are also mathematical. So this is the idea that the whole universe that we experience has this harmony. We can use the language of mathematics to describe it, but we can use other language as well. The point is not so much how we describe it, but that we perceive it. The truth is that what we are is spirit. We are consciousness. And our perceptions are simply the aspects of the cosmos that we are perceiving in our consciousness. And we can direct our consciousness to anything we want to, right? Your perceptions of your body, your perceptions of the world are sort of relative perceptions of the absolute, of the perfect one, which is complete and harmonious in all ways. Harmony is, in other words, the reality underlying appearances. So we can become conscious of that. And in becoming conscious of that, we become instruments. We might say we're musical instruments, or we're instruments of arts, but we're instruments of that harmony when we perceive it and when we get in touch with it and when we act from it. So if you direct your attention to the relative discord of pieces of appearances, what you experience is discord. Yet you can direct your attention to the underlying, unchanging, absolute reality of harmony. You can experience that harmony. The experience of harmony in consciousness leads to harmony and bliss in the infinite mind. This is part of what the mystics experience when they have that profound, deep experience. But we can experience it every day and in everyday motions and actions. Harmony is a present state of consciousness because the ultimate reality of the infinite mind or spirit is always in the midst of us. It's always in perfect harmony. This harmonious state of consciousness is at the very deepest level of our being, at the very deepest level of our minds. It's deeper than our conscious thought and our perceptions. It's deeper even than the depths of our subconscious minds. And so we seek to access this divine harmony through regular contemplation of the harmony of the cosmos, or contemplation of God. Prayer and meditation, we are always directing our attention towards this truth of the divine harmony that's everywhere in the universe. And at the same time, we can experience harmony in any situation. We can experience the harmony of nature just by walking through our own neighborhoods, or by visiting an arboretum or an art gallery, or by attending an opera or listening to our favorite music. The harmony is in everything. We establish harmony with others when we direct our consciousness to the feelings of compassion and caring and empathy that we have, by finding our points of agreement, or finding or perceiving the ways that we fit together, whether that fitting together involves learning lessons or overcoming challenges, or whether that fitting together is an agreement of working towards a common purpose and a common cause. We can experience harmony, express harmony, be instruments of harmony everywhere in life. The pieces of the whole fit together. I think of one of the things that I thought of in reflecting on this is a hobby that my wife Chris has, or my wife and her sister Andy like to. They like to do jigsaw puzzles. A jigsaw puzzle, the whole of it, of course, is some kind of image, some kind of picture. But you put it together by fitting the little pieces together, right? One at a time. But in the back of your mind, you've still got the idea of this whole picture that you are creating by fitting these little pieces together. An interesting thing about jigsaw puzzles is that the pieces of the whole, the harmony of the picture, they have harmony, they create the whole because of their differences, not despite the differences, but because of them. Each piece is different, but somehow they fit together to create the whole thing. Jesus called this harmonic state of consciousness the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of the Father. Now, the word that's commonly translated as kingdom is better translated as realm or rule, because the word doesn't actually have anything to do with the rule of a government by a king, right? That was just the word that they used in English translations and others, because at the time they translated it, a lot of the places were kingdoms. They were ruled over by kings or empires. But the word just means realm or domain. So when Jesus is talking about the realm or domain of heaven, that's what he's talking about. Not something that's ruled by a king, not that so much as just this idea of the nature of things, if you will. So where is this realm of the Father, this realm of God? It is, as Jesus said, within you. This is this point of the realm of God, the realm of heaven as being present, is referred to several times in the Gospel of Thomas. In one of the passages, it says that the Father's realm will not come by watching for it. It will not be said, look here or look there. It's not confined to a space, look here or look there. He goes on to say, rather, the Father's realm is spread out upon the earth, and people don't see it. See, this is the challenge, to see it, to perceive it, to focus our attention on experiencing the harmony that's already there, and being that harmony, being an instrument of it. The wonderful, great mystic Hildegard of Bingen clearly perceived this omnipresent harmony, the presence of God's realm. She expressed it beautifully in a few passages. She wrote, everything that is in the heavens, on earth, and under the earth is penetrated with connectedness, penetrated with relatedness. She's seeing how things fit together. She wrote, every creature is a glittering, glistening mirror of divinity. I love that idea of glittering, glistening mirror of divinity. These little, you get this idea, these little sparks that, or forms that shine or reflect light in different ways. And finally, she said, there is the music of heaven in all things, the music of heaven in all things. Another expounder on harmony that I love was Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great transcendentalist philosopher. He wrote an essay called The Oversoul. And the essay is on the nature of harmony. And he really gets into the idea of the pleasing relationships of the parts within the whole. So we read this passage. He said, "We live in succession, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime, within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. And this deep power in which we exist, and whose beatitude is all accessible to us, is not only self-sufficing and perfect in every hour, but the act of seeing and the thing seen, the seer and the spectacle, the subject and the object are one." This passage makes me think of recent references to quantum physics of the idea of entanglement, but the idea that we participate in, we are one with that which we perceive. And it's in our act of perceiving that the events occur, quantum events occur when they are observed. The seer and the seen are one. Heaven, the state of harmony, is within us and spread out all around us, but sometimes we do not perceive it. We don't see or hear or feel or think of it. Seeing it, perceiving it, can be a conscious choice, an intentional directing of our attention to the idea of harmony, the perception of beauty, or the idea of happiness. Harmonious consciousness and conditions are related to, as I said at the outset, are related to the principle of justice. People of the world perceive discord. They perceive wars and crimes and suffering and injustice. In doing this, they are doing what Emerson called living in parts and particles. But within us, again, still is the soul of the whole. People cry out for justice and harmony. They long for the fulfillment of the prophecy of Amos, who wrote, "Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream." Perfect idea of justice must already be part of our consciousness, an intuition imperfectly realized. It's an idea that draws us to it. Nearly every culture in history has had some concept of justice. The nature of justice has been contemplated for thousands of years by spiritual teachers and philosophers. And just as music illustrates the nature of harmony, so the laws of physics provide an excellent illustration of the nature of justice. Physics consists of equations that balance things out. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is a physical law that represents or signifies to us the nature of justice. Because these laws, the laws of physics, apply everywhere at all times equally and without prejudice. That idea of laws applying everywhere equally and without prejudice is what we strive for in our human systems of justice. The divine idea of justice is called karma in Eastern thought. It is believed that our karma, our thoughts, our actions, determine our experiences and our place in the world. Gautama the Buddha emphasized how our thoughts activate justice or karma in our lives. He said, "All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him, as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. If a man speaks or acts with pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. For hatred does not cease by hatred at any time. Hatred ceases by love. This is an old rule." It's interesting that he said this some 2,400 years ago. And by then, this idea that hatred ceases by love, the Buddha said, is an old rule preceding him. Jesus beautifully, elegantly eloquently, memorably stated the nature of justice. It's a passage that's found in the Gospel of Luke. He said, "Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back." That's the nature of justice. The measure you give will be the measure you get back. We do not always directly perceive all the consequences of our thoughts and actions. Some consequences of thoughts and actions are only perceived in the consciousness of the individual responsible for those thoughts and actions. I return again to my friend Emerson, who wrote another essay called Compensation. And in this essay, he explains why he believes that the world is always and immediately just, that how we experience justice is more a matter of soul or consciousness than a matter of outward appearances. We can perceive the justice, or what he called the law of compensation, by considering the nature of what we gain and what we lose by the choices we make. So Emerson emphasizes this idea. He writes, "For everything you have missed, you have gained something else. And if for everything you gain, you lose something." It's a kind of trade-off in life. There is always, he writes, some leveling circumstance that puts down the overbearing, the strong, the rich, the fortunate, substantially on the same ground with all others. We may imagine that the wealthy, the strong, the rich, the powerful have no problems. But if you examine their lives closely, they have the same problems everyone else has, right? It takes a different form. They have the same challenges, and so on. And then Emerson wrote memorably, I think, "Justice is not postponed. Perfect equity adjusts its balance in all parts of life. The dice of God are always loaded." Goes on to say, "Every act rewards itself, or in other words, integrates itself in a twofold manner. First, in the thing or in the real nature. Secondly, in the circumstance or in apparent nature. The retribution in circumstances is seen by the understanding. It is inseparable from the thing, but is often spread over a long time, and so does not become distinct until after many years." What he's getting at here is that the person that our thoughts and our actions have an immediate impact in our consciousness, but it may not be seen outwardly, or it may not be seen except over the course of time. There was another transcendentalist, a friend of Emerson, the same era. He was the most popular preacher in the United States at that time. His name was Theodore Parker. Parker made a similar point. He said, "Look at the facts of the world. You see a continual and progressive triumph of the right. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. But from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice." Dr. Martin Luther King condensed the saying of Theodore Parker beautifully when he said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." Every choice we make and everything we do becomes a part of our consciousness, part of how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our lives. Harm intentionally inflicted on others diminishes our sense of self, our consciousness, our relative happiness, and our harmony with the universe. Likewise, whatever benefit we intentionally bestow expands our sense of self, our consciousness, our relative happiness, and our harmony with the universe. That's why we say it's more blessed to give than to receive. When we bestow good upon others, that becomes a part of who we are and how we see ourselves and how we see our lives. Emerson saw this law of compensation as mathematical. He wrote in the same essay, "Love, and you shall be loved. All love is mathematically just, as much as the two sides of an algebraic equation." The principle of justice continuously establishes harmony in the universe through the laws of physics and through the laws of mind. There's harmony and justice throughout nature, throughout the universe. Our choices always initiate the principle of justice. We can choose to act from a consciousness of unity and thereby harmonize our experience. Or we can choose to muddle about in the illusion of separation that causes so much suffering in the world. And this is a consequence of our freedom. We can align with the principle of justice to experience happiness or suffering because we have the freedom of thought and action, manifestations of the infinite, which has no limits. We have freedom. While there's order in the universe because of its unity and laws, there is also freedom in the possible choices we have for working with those laws. The question is not then, is there justice? The question is, how can we work with the principle of justice for optimal results? The simplest and most general rule for cooperating with the principle of justice is known to us all. It's known to us all as the Golden Rule. It's found in all religions in one form or another, and it's very basic. Treat others as you want to be treated. This rule has been available to all for thousands of years because it's found in every religious tradition. Treat others as you want to be treated. In this way, you will work with justice in a beneficial way. A just society would emulate the laws of physics by striving to treat everyone equally and by making consequences equivalent to actions. It would emulate divine harmony by connecting all citizens by benevolence and by connecting all citizens to society's resources and benefits. Favoritism based on wealth, fame, color, or creed has no place in a just and harmonious society. People sometimes imagine they can escape the consequences of thoughts, words, and actions. In appearances, the innocent are sometimes convicted and the guilty sometimes go free. People imagine that there is no justice because human justice systems sometimes fail. But Emerson's point, the point of the great spiritual teachers, is that we're dealing with a universal law. The universal law compensates for the failures of human laws, even as we, in deriving or creating our human laws, attempt to emulate that perfect justice and harmony. The effects of justice that are most difficult to perceive are in the cases of those who suffer injustice, innocent victims of injustice. In some cases, we may perceive appearances of compensation for injustice, and in others, we may not. This is a mystery that cannot be solved by science, but we see that long arc of history bending toward justice. We seek to trust that truth. The evidence for justice is perceivable in the laws of physics and in the teachings of spiritual masters. The spiritual laws stated by Buddha, Jesus, and others imply that there is compensation for the innocent, even if we don't see it. It may be that some compensation occurs in the consciousness of these innocent ones beyond this temporal earthly experience. In other words, belief in compensation for the innocent is ultimately a matter of insight or faith and not a matter of appearances. It's an inference we can draw from all the evidence for justice, even if we cannot see the consequences. Now, unity and New Thought recognize the divine reality and the omnipresence of harmony and justice. We persistently affirm and contemplate that reality. And that is one of the reasons why the teachings of New Thought and unity are so important and potentially valuable for humanity. We are building up this consciousness of harmony and justice. The more people realize the true nature of harmony and justice, the more effectively we can establish harmony and justice in our lives and in the world, the more effectively we can cooperate with that consciousness of harmony that is everywhere present and that principle of justice that is everywhere present in order to produce optimal results. Let us therefore choose to contemplate harmony and justice. Let us hold these affirmations of truth persistently and deeply in our consciousness, make them a very part of the fabric of our minds and our lives. Divine harmony and justice are now established throughout the universe. Divine harmony and justice are now established in my mind, body, and affairs. Divine harmony and justice are now established in your mind, body, and affairs. Let us persistently behold heaven on earth and thereby help our human family see that the Father's realm is spread out on the earth and within us. So now I invite you to join me in contemplating these truths in a time of meditation. If you will, become comfortable. Feel the perfect rhythm, the movement of breath that is inward and then outward. This is a manifestation of the rhythm and the harmony of the universe. Our breath is a manifestation of the oneness of all life, for we all breathe the same atmosphere. As you feel this rhythm and this oneness, aware of the energy that flows through your body, that there's a rhythm to that as well. And how that energy of your body is connected to the energy of the earth and the energy of the sun, the energy of the whole universe. We are not apart from it, but we are a part of it. It is a part of us. We are supported by, and we are here because of the wholeness of the universe, the oneness of the infinite mind in which this universe exists. We feel our oneness, our breath, and the energy of our bodies. The hearing of the same words together, contemplating of those words together. So I invite you to hold and contemplate for a few moments in silence this affirmation, this thought, and to let yourself experience the truth of it, be open to the truth of it. This affirmation. Divine harmony and justice are now established throughout the universe. Divine harmony and justice are now established throughout the universe. Perhaps as you contemplate this truth, you can see in your mind's eye scenes of harmony in your very neighborhood. The trees are connected to the earth, and the animals interact with the trees and the grasses and the flowers. The landscape is domed by a blue and white sphere. Perhaps if there are clouds in the sky, those clouds have water that nourishes the earth. All these things fit together. All are part of your consciousness in your life. Divine harmony and justice are now established throughout the universe. then we identify with this universal harmony and justice by recognizing that as it is everywhere in the universe, so it is within us. Second thought, second affirmation. Divine harmony and justice are now established in my mind, body, and affairs. Divine harmony and justice are now established in my mind, body, and affairs. He recognizes as the truth that our bodies are beautifully designed, mathematically complete and harmonious. That our minds are one with that universal mind that is harmony and justice. Through the principle of justice and through our consciousness of harmony, our affairs are made harmonious. Cause and effect is operative. And we can work with that principle of justice. And we can hold to that consciousness of harmony to make it so in our mind, body, and affairs, to cooperate with and participate with the universal mind that is that very harmony and justice. Divine harmony and justice are now established in my mind, body, and affairs. I see myself as free, whole, filled with peace and love, grateful for abundance of blessings. And finally, let's hold this thought for others, for anyone you may think of, for all the people of the world. Know that this truth that is true for us is true for them. Divine harmony and justice are now established in your mind, body, and affairs. Divine harmony and justice are now established in your mind, body, and affairs. Our praying for others is not an attempt to project something. It is a recognition of something that is already true. It is a unifying of our consciousness with the consciousness of those we pray with. It is a supporting of the truth in them. So we are grateful, not only for the truth, but for the privilege to pray, to contemplate the beauty and harmony and justice of the universe, the privilege of holding others in that consciousness, and assisting the operations of the good in the world. So we behold that the kingdom of God is within us, that it is spread out on the earth. We begin to see it more clearly, and we enter into that which we call the Christ consciousness. And it is from that place, in that space, that we act and perceive our world. And so it is. Amen. I invite you to see the harmony that's all around you right now, the mathematical composition of your space that you're in, and perceive, more importantly, that that harmony is part of what you are. It pervades what you are. You can go into the world and see it everywhere now that you see it in yourself. God bless everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.